not as well. And I've got to see. I had figured out before a way that I could do this and still look at my talking notes, but I don't see how I can do that. So I'm just going to go through this. This is about the Ohio Division of Wildlife, which is a Department of Natural Resources Division. And you probably did not know that they provide services and programs, um, a lot of them, 51 in total. And some of them you probably are aware of. Um, I'm picking some of the more out of the way ones that you wouldn't know of. Um, Division of Wildlife is not just the park rangers and the game wardens and the people that check boaters for their safety equipment and to make sure that their boater registrations are up to date, and they just do a ton more stuff than that. There are 51 different services and programs that the Division of Wildlife offers. And overall, they are in this is what they are in charge of. Uh, Besides the fact, and this is very interesting, legally, according to the federal government, and this it's been this way since I believe 1936, legally, the Ohio Division of Wildlife actually has ownership of every wild animal in the state. Every wild animal, every fish, every bird, every insect, legally, Division of Wildlife owns them. And that is how they are able to so effectively do what they do in terms of some of the things they do. So they are responsible for all hunting and trapping activity and regulations, archery and target shooting, fishing, of course, the Wild Ohio Harvest Community, which we'll talk about, wildlife watching, online species guides, managing nuisance wildlife, invasive species of animals, state listed species, reporting on diseased and dead birds. They're responsible for orphaned and injured wildlife, wildlife diseases, um, the reporting of wildlife sightings by the public that gets done to them, all wildlife related permits, wildlife education, grant opportunities, and all wildlife related documents and publications. So that's a whole big mouthful there, but there's also a whole lot of other things underneath this that they are responsible for, that they take care of. So I'm just going to pick out some things. First of all, there are a few things under wildlife management that you may not realize are actually something that is done that they are in charge of. And first of all, biweekly waterfowl surveys. Now, what they do from the beginning of the spring migration to the end of fall migration in the northern fourth of the state. So the Lake Erie area, the area just south of Lake Erie, where we have our biggest concentration of migratory waterfowl activity, twice a week during that period, uh, in helicopters and or airplanes, they do these flyover waterfowl surveys. So they fly over the areas where they are known to congregate, and they use computerized equipment to take counts. So twice a week during that long time period, they do that and compile that information. Another thing they do, which is interesting, is they have something called the deer damage complaint procedure. And this is actually a program that they run, and it is for the benefit of farmers and large landowners who are having problems with deer, damaging their crops, decimating their crops, um, overpopulation issues for people that own, you know, private lands, forested areas, and so on. Um, as you might remember, when we did our program about we did our program about the forest floor ecology. We talked about the 8 plant types that deer prefer and how a large herd can go into a forested area and in very short time completely eat up all of those 8 types of plants, and then they go away. And once they go away, invasives grow in those areas like wildfire, and it's not a good situation to have happen. So where there are issues like that, they help the landowners deal with those issues. A lot of times, what is done is prescribed hunts. They will allow a certain amount of hunting on those properties for a certain time period, which will, number one, reduce populations, and number two, cause populations to break up and move on. And then something else I thought was very interesting, and I had no idea about this, and there are hunters in my family, bow hunters, a lot of them actually, and they weren't aware of this. Something called the Bow Hunter Observation Survey. And what this program is, this is a formal observation program that bow hunters, they like to get bow hunters involved in this. And this takes place during the bow hunting season, which starts in early fall and ends in the beginning of December, uh, when when the deer rifle season begins and rabbit season begins. So for that time period, deer season, um, they have a form, either paper or online, that they like to get these hunters to fill out, because hunters, they'll go out and they're spending a whole day or a whole afternoon sitting in a tree stand, and they're not just going to see deer. They're going to see all kinds of wildlife. So while they're sitting there in their tree stands quietly waiting for deer, they get them to notate if they see bobcats in their field of vision. They make notations on that. If they happen to see black bear, or they see mink, they see fishers, they see weasels, or there's a whole slew of animals that they have them fill out this form, either through the phone app or on paper, and they submit these to the Division of Wildlife, and it's a great help to them in getting some counts and keeping track of where the populations of these various species are. So they're in effect through volunteerism, getting people that are already out in the field to do these counts. And it's really good data for them to have. So that's three programs in wildlife management that you probably weren't aware of that they have. Now, next, something, and I never thought about this, something, and was a new term to me, probably to you too, geologic hazards. And geologic hazards are various different types of geologically based situations that can cause problems for landowners or worse. And you're looking at one of them here, that being people that have caves on their property. You might have caves on your property and not even know it. So what this involves is three things. And the first one is something called karsts. Is anyone familiar with that term? Karsts are basically three things: caves, sinkholes, and landslides. So they deal with reporting, they deal with geologic surveys of those areas, and they provide maps and publications for those. The second thing, which is a huge concern, is Lake Erie shore erosion. And they track shore erosion both through property owners and through their own surveys of bluffs that overlook the lake, dunes, and near shore areas that are um, affected by erosion due to storms. And then the third thing, you might not believe it, we're going to take a look at this, something called the Ohio Seismic Network, where they do earthquake monitoring, and they have actual stations where they do this and they collect data. I think you're going to be surprised by this. So, with the seismic data, they have various offices with seismic equipment, just like you might expect they have in California. And they have data going way, way, way back into the early 1900s. And this is the address for the interactive map. We'll get this up um, on the website. And this map from the early 1900s to present pinpoints the epicenter of every earthquake or tremor there has been in Ohio. And it tells where it was at, year, month, day, hour, minute, second, the latitude and longitude, the magnitude of it, calculated depth in miles that the epicenter was, and a bunch of other information. And you can access this and play around with it. It's an interactive map. And they also have a what's called 24-hour felt report hotline. And this is a number you can call if you experience a tremor. They want to know about it. They want to check it out. So again, keep in mind, this is not the U.S. Geological Survey. This is Division of Wildlife. And this is a view of Ohio showing every place ever recorded where there have been epicenters. And the ones in red are, if I remember correctly, anything over a magnitude of three, and the blues are magnitudes under three. And the larger the circle is, the more instances there have been in that immediate area. So this is pretty interesting. Awful lot of them in the eastern basin of Lake Erie on our border. A lot more than you would imagine, and an awful lot of them over in the I guess that's what the Lima and the Youngstown area primarily, I guess, north of Springfield. So this is the most wide view on the interactive map. You can zoom in on any section of this that you want. Now, something else that they are involved in, and this is probably not a huge surprise, they do wildlife disease monitoring and research. And this is the main things that they are interested in that they track: avian flu, which I think we're all aware of, um, chronic wasting disease, which is a deer disease, brucellosis and pseudorabies, which is with wild swine, which we do have in the southern portion of the state, uh, which is something, it's a disease I don't know a lot about, but it affects amphibians worldwide, something relatively new. Conjunctivitis in birds, um, epizootic hemorrhage disease, which I had not heard of, another deer disease, rabies, roundworm in raccoons, tuberculosis in deer. Our poor deer have problems. They've got some serious things going on. Um, this one I am not familiar with, and I didn't get a chance to look it up. Tularemia, not sure what that is. West Nile virus, and then the white nose syndrome. Um, I mistyped that there. White nose syndrome is not birds, it's bats. I think we all know that. West Nile virus is birds. So they track all of those diseases and are doing research actively on them, in conjunction mostly with Ohio State and OU. Now, another thing that they're involved in, they offer quite a bit in the way of grants. And this is the main areas that they offer grants in: uh, natural areas research, which basically is for people doing wanting to do people that are landowners, large landowners, that want to do wildlife research on their property, or sponsor college students doing wildlife research on the properties. You can get a grant for that. There are grants for teachers that want to do aquatic education. Um, there is the Clean Ohio Trails Fund, and this is for people that are, again, large landowners that have trails or want to put trails on their property, to allow the public to use them. If you're going to allow the public to use them, you can get money to create or maintain those trails through Clean Ohio Trails Fund. Of course, boater safety education. I think that one's well known. Abandoned mine land revitalization. This is for people that have old mines under their property and want to revitalize land that has had issues due to toxic mine runoff, for example. There's money available to them for remediation, basically. Community wildlife risk reduction. And this is for municipalities where they might typically have issues with people having um, potentially dangerous run-in with wildlife, or where wildlife itself is being put into danger by um, too close proximity with people. And if a community wants to do a project to reduce that risk or those instances, there's money available for that. There is the Ohio Geology Student Research Grant. If you are a college student studying geology, you can get a grant to fund your thesis paper or to fund your capstone project. There is a Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is again another one that is open to private landowners who want to improve conservation efforts on their property or on the waters within their property. And along with that, same thing, wetland restoration assistance. This is a grant with funds available for people who have wetlands on their property that want to restore them. There's, as you can see, a lot of uh, they're trying to give or offer a lot of help to people that have large tracts of private land in order to make it easier for them to be good stewards of that land. And then finally, there is a wildlife education grant available to teachers. It's very similar to the aquatic education grant. And I bet a lot of teachers don't know those things are there. Now, under education itself, apart from the education grants, which I've listed at the bottom here, you may be familiar with this Ohio Rocks, which is an educational program, and that's a series of educational videos that they have on YouTube that cover all different kinds of things about geology. Um, Everything from how geology affects geography, like we've talked about, uh, to rock hunting, to fossil hunting, all kinds of things like that. And then there is something called Project Learning Tree, which is a series of workshops for educators, which is meant to equip them um, with tools and resources and skills for teaching school age children about wildlife. They have something called Chat with a Biologist, where if you are an educator, you're a teacher, a division of wildlife biologists will will come out and do a program, have a talk with your class. And then something I'm going to be involved in starting next month, which is Project Wild. And Project Wild is a program series for people who are educators. And what it does is Project Wild has a a series of, if you will, prepackaged wildlife and conservation programs for school age students. And Project Wild takes that set of materials and resources and trains educators on how to use it. So I will be going through that, and will hopefully be using that in the future when I am doing homeschools. And then there is, and this is what you see a photo of here, the Students Take Action program, which gets students, school age students, involved in hands-on projects, um, like well, like you see here, like creeking, for example, bio blitzes, things like that. And it's just to get students involved. And then to step that up a notch, they have student wildlife research symposiums, and these are for college age students who are in various wildlife related fields or conservation related fields. And these are symposiums to give them give them education, but also mainly give them tools for doing their research. And then they have various teacher resources available. Um, and by that, what I mean is they have a whole series of various printed materials that are available to teachers, various maps, and like I've got a few things here I got from them. They have the Division of Wildlife guide books. I got a thing that's a series of wetland ecology posters that you can use, small stream ecosystem posters, all kinds of stuff like that. And those are available at all of the local offices. And then, of course, the education grants, which we've already spoken about. Any questions so far? Okay. So that's just some of the things. And again, there are 51 different things. This is a department or a division, excuse me, that has really grown. They actually started in, I believe it was 1932, 32 or 36, with just responsibility for um, you know, park rangers and game wardens. And it just three different times over the last, however many years since then, they've gained these large areas of responsibilities to what they have today. And I just thought it was interesting because a lot of those things I talked about, you wouldn't think that on the surface that Department of Wildlife would have the responsibility or offer those things. Hey, so anybody have any questions on that at all?
That's a lot of programs. Very interesting.
It it is. If you want to know more about it, all you have to do is go to just Google Ohio Division of Wildlife, and they've got their own website apart from the ODNR, and it will tell you in detail um, about every single one of those 51 different responsibilities and programs, and It will give you in-depth history of the division of wildlife. It's really very, very interesting. Um,
Yeah.
the the format is that for each one of the different things, like there will be a page. Like for example, there'll be a page that says grants, and then there will be like a dozen different icons there for different grants, and you can click on each one and it tells you in detail all about it. So it's very easy to use the way they've got it set up, very user friendly.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. I know they revamped the site not all that long ago. 'Cause
Yeah.
I know a lot of the park pages were broken for a while. So that's